think you said it earlier, they beat on everything, right? The revenue beat expectations, actually the top end of what analysts expected. And they also beat on the amount of users that they have. I mean, they beat in every dimension. Now, the one thing you did mention, right, was that CapEx, which is that spending, a lot of which is going to things like AI infrastructure. You're talking servers and data and hardware and stuff like that. That increased a little bit, but because it was that bottom range, right? Like their top line level didn't increase. I don't think investors are going to be that upset about that. So yeah, they beat on everything, changed a couple things, but I think overall it's good for them.
Hey, John, what sticks out to you here? You've had a few minutes to go over these numbers. What sticks out to you?
Just, Tim, that Mark Zuckerberg and Meta seem to have the script down pretty cold at this point. I mean, building on everything you've said, here is a company that over the last couple of years has learned its lessons when it comes to what starts to make Wall Street uncomfortable on the spending front. And I think that the fact that as you guys highlighted earlier, that they can make the case that the revenue that came in stronger than expected gets assistance from the investment that's coming from all this AI focus. That seems to be a helping hand here. I would add, though, that if you go back to the last quarter, remember, and by the way, this stock always moves a lot. Generally, it moves a lot after earnings, either up or down. But the shares got crushed because investors had to do another reassessment on this AI spending. So arguably, we've had some time to sit with this. And even the stock price, I know it's up a lot this year, but at last check, it was coming into this earnings report a little bit lower than where it was heading into the last quarter. So I don't think anyone would have been surprised to see a big spending bill, but you have stronger than expected numbers. And remember, this is also the company that's starting to find shareholder-friendly tricks in its playbook. They issued their first dividend, and they're buying back a lot of stock. So they've got the levers they can pull. But we still have to see how all this AI spending nets out in the long term. We don't quite know, but they're trying to paint a good picture so far.
Yeah, and for a stock that bopped up, I think, about 10% here in the aftermarket, we're now just up about 3.6%, still higher, but it continues as I think investors and analysts continue to go through the report, and we'll wait to see what comes out on the call. Having said that, John, how does Meta square with some of the other companies that we are so intently focused on their AI spending and their AI ROI, return on investment?
You know, everybody is in an arms race here. And I think at the end of the day, Carol, you could make an argument that because Alphabet came first and investors got a little jittery on the roadmap for the spending on AI and the return on investment, remember that coming into this week, tech had been pretty roughed up. So it almost, dare I say, set the bar lower for the tech giants that would be putting out numbers this week. I think that at the end of the day, longer term, and Mark Zuckerberg said it himself in his interview with Emily Chang not that long ago, there is a possibility that all the spending they are doing today might be an overshoot, but they're right now trying to build a future where engagement can be increased through AI, that advertisers can have better, more targeted ads through AI, that they can have a much cleaner thread between software and hardware, like the glasses you're talking about. I think they really like where this story is going over the long term. They're probably getting a boost as well, just because there's a lot of eyeballs on big events right now, like the Olympics, and so they can benefit from that. But there's, you know, the other side of AI that we don't know a lot about. Mark Zuckerberg spent a lot of time in front of lawmakers in Washington over the last decade. People are still a little concerned, maybe more than a little concerned, about the ramifications of all this AI technology that they're weaving into the Meta ecosystem. But, you know, at the end of the day, if they can keep the bottom line in a relatively clean manner and keep growing the revenue story, you know, Meta is in a position to have arguably a cleaner quarterly story than some of its peers.